Hello guys, welcome to Training Tuesday. I'm a new face for some of you. My name is Tyler. I've been here with ChamSys a good couple of years now. And I thought I'd let James have a bit of time off. He's been, well, I was actually going to say we're going to be on time for once, but we had a few technical issues ourselves as well. So I'm carrying on James's tradition of being a little bit late. So yes, my name is Tyler. Today we are going to have a little look at just getting patch to show within about 20 minutes. Again, you know, give me a break and hopefully don't test me too much. But check the questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them as we go. What can go wrong? They've let the Welsh salesman at the helm of the live streams. So I've got my Mac here running Magic Queue as normal, and we're going to dive straight into this now. So hopefully you can see my screen. And just to prove that we are going to go straight from scratch, we are going to hit New Show, hit Yes, and jump ourselves into live chase mode. We are starting completely from scratch, okay? So we are going to patch in a bunch of lights and get it, you know, mostly show ready in about 20 minutes. So first things first, I'm going to set up my visualizer just so I can view this today on the live stream. So I'm going to go into my patch window, go to View Viz. I should say as well, because this isn't one particular topic, I might be jumping around a few different features. So if there's anything in particular you want to look at once I've finished, do ask the questions. So I'm going to pop into my Viz, and firstly I'm going to pop some trusses into my Viz. So if I hit 3, for example, go to attach object, so type 3 in my syntax bar and do insert truss. That will then instantly put 3 pieces of truss into my visualizer. I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger for me to put some lights on. And then I'm going to move these around a little bit as well to create that typical rake that you would see. So I'll use my encoders here to move those around, truss 1, truss 2. So a little bit of a rake there. And then if we see it from this side, I'm going to move truss 1 over to like the front, and then truss 2 kind of in the mid. So we've got a little bit of a rake, you know, traditional kind of stage layout. Once I've got those done, I'm going to head into patch, go to view heads, and go and start patching some lights. So I'm going to go to search and find some of the new Storm 1 flexes from Chauvet. I'm going to use those fixtures. I'm going to patch, say 24 of them. Do I want them to go into my visualizer? Yes. And you can see they've kind of just been dumped into the middle of my viz at the moment. We'll figure about arranging those in a second. Well, if I go back to choose head, I'm also going to chuck some washes in here as well. So I'll just do some, you know, good old sturdy R2Xs, R2X wash, 17 channel patch, say 20 of them, and pop those into my viz as well. And then finally, I'm going to go and chuck some blinders in here as well. So if I do some strike arrays, keeping it on brand with Chauvet, strike array 2s, and I'm just going to pop them in 1 channel mode today, and I'll chuck 12 of those in there as well. So firstly, I want to quickly rearrange this so my viz looks a little bit nicer. So if I'm going to go to my view viz, go to my viz heads, and firstly I'm going to go and attach, say, the first 12 of my spots. So highlight all of those and do fit to object, truss 3. And you can see that pops them on the back there. If I now go to the next batch of my flexes and do fit to object, truss 2. And then I'll do my R2Xs as well. So I'll select, say, the first 10 of those because I patched 20 of them. I'm going to do fit to object, truss 3. Now you'll notice a little bit, and I'll make my viz a little bit bigger for you in the center of the screen. So you'll notice, obviously, it's dumping them and it's kind of fanning them out evenly spread. So I just want to go rearrange them a little bit. So if I use, oh, wrong encoder there. As I tab through, you can see I'm moving the one head at a time just to put them in the middle of my spots. So I can rearrange my viz, so like so. There we go, great. And then I'm going to go and grab the rest of my R2X washes, do fit to object, and I'll put those on truss 2. Again, I'll just pop through on this one and just to make sure they're all good. So drop that roughly in the middle. We're not going to be too fussy about positions today, but you'll get the idea. If I move, oh, wrong one, move that one there, and move that one, one more. Great. And then finally, I'm going to go grab my strike array 2s, which I'm going to use as my blinders, and I'm going to fit those to truss 1 at the front. You'll notice if I just turn the strike array 2s on for a second, obviously they're pointing straight down by default. So if I go back into my patch and just rotate those around and use them on my front truss as my blinders. So there we go. We've got our patch set. Of course, you know, your patch will be provided to you by the venue or wherever you're working into, or it'll be part of your show that you're touring around. So when we go back into our default layer, we've now got our groups, some positions, some colors, and some beams created. So we're going to have a little play with these. First things first, I want to set up my grid layouts. My grid layouts are important to me because I'll be using my effects. My intensity effects and my position effects will be based on my grid layouts, and you'll see that in a second. So if I go to my Storm 1 flexes and tap View Grid, I'm going to set this to be a 12 by 2 grid because I've got 2 lines of 12 fixtures. I'm going to go to my R2X wash grid and I'm going to set that to be a 10 by 2 because I've got 20 fixtures. And then finally my strike arrays, these are all nice and simple in one line. I'm going to do a 12 by 1. So there we go, we're set up, we are ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is start creating some position palettes. The position palettes will be using our plot window. So if I just grab some of these first, actually before I jump onto that, the first thing I always do when I build my show files is set up a quick default locate queue so my fixtures are more usable straight away. So what I'm going to do is just grab these fixtures, I'm going to put them just narrow, just so we can see what's going on rather than just lots of light on my screen. And I will go to position and just tilt those out a little bit. There we go, just square off my viz. Tilt those out a little bit into the audience, towards the front of my stage. And maybe I'll do the same with these and point those roughly into the same area. And then what I'm going to do is go to my cue store and I'm going to record that as a cue. You can record directly into the cue store, you don't have to put it onto a playback first. And then what I can do with this cue is use it as both a default and a locate option. So what that means is when the lights are used with the locate key or they've gone back to their defaults, if I do allow that within my settings, they will now go back into that location with the zoom and everything that I set within that cue. So they're more usable to me from the get-go. So first things first, let's do some position palettes. So I'm gonna go and use my fanning options. Fanning is a really important tool. It's helps you create some really nice looks very quickly. But I'm going to use fanning by my group grid. Now because I built my group grid, I don't have to worry about my odds, my evens, and doing truss by truss. I can use my fan, enable my group grid option. And now, as I fan the pan on that, you can see the 2 lines of spots are working, together, essentially. So I'll go and record that one there. Then maybe I'll tilt them more into the audience and record that one. Maybe I'll put them up into the ear as well, do one there. And then I might use my odd and evens just to grip me some kind of crisscrosses. So I'll do odd and even and do it that way. So a couple of crosses and then record that to that location. And if I jot it back down to the stage, I'm going to do the same there. So odds and evens. Oh, there we go. Make sure I use the right encoder dialer. So odd and even, pan those ones around, odd and even, and pop those ones over there. And then record that into that location. The last thing I'm going to do is create that center spot. For those of you that have seen some of our training videos before, we have got this plot window. This plot window is a selection tool, it's a reference tool, it is a bird's eye view of what your visualizer looks like. So to create that center spot, I'm just very quickly going to do a focus on target and hit that middle point, if I had all my lights selected, of course. Focus on target, and there. So it's very quick to create those center spots by laying out my viz, even in just a very basic way. So again, I will go and store that as a position palette there. So I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping, name these a little bit. So fan, I'll do that one as audience. Don't judge my spelling today. I definitely want to try and get this done in 20 minutes so James doesn't mock me. Put that into the sky, and then we'll do ear cross. There we go. We'll do stage cross. And the last one, I remember that one. It was a center spot. Oh, there we go. I said don't judge my spelling. There we go. Do that one again. Center spot. There. So that's all created. I've got some nice position palettes there. I'm going to quickly do the same for my R2s. You can see using the options that I've got set within my console, my palettes are unique to the fixtures. And that's because, you know, they are rigged slightly differently. They're in slightly different locations. So I'm just going to very quickly do the same. And again, you can see those fanning options then. So I'm going to use the group grid fan options. So it's using that grid layout that I built here. It's using this as the tool to fan them in and out. So if I go and enable group grid fan, go to position and fan those out. Oh, go the other way. Lovely. So I'll put that one into my fan options, my fan palette, sorry. I'll tilt those up and give it more of an audience type look. I will put those up a little bit more into the sky. And then I'll do my odds and evens and just give that kind of crisscross type look. There we go. Pop that to there. And then I'll drop them back down to the stage and I will do the same there. Odds and evens, do my pan, odds and evens again, do my pan. And record that to there. And then again, I'm going to go to my plot window again to get that focus on target to that center spot nice and quickly. You also have focus hold here as well, so I can go actually, yeah, the center spot or the spot I'm creating is going to be in one of these positions. So I've got that there and I will finally record that as my center spot. Great, that's most of my housekeeping done at that point because I've now got my groups laid out with my group grids, I've got my positions, I've already got loads of colors and I've got a bunch of beams that the console's already created me when I patch those lights in. So the first thing I'm going to do is create myself a cue stack of intensity effects. So first thing, I'm going to turn those fixtures on. I'm not going to use locate. The reason I'm not going to use locate at that point is because when I'm recording this cue stack, I only want intensity information to be in there. I'm going to worry about my positions, my colors, my beams, all of that is going to come later on. So intensity at full, and I will record that onto that fader there. And now I'm going to go and add an effect, but I'm not going to add a normal effect. I'm going to add a group effect. We've covered these before. Again, it uses my group grid rather than the selection of my fixtures. So if I go to add group effect, I go to intensity, I'll just do a nice easy dim chase, turn my fixtures off because my effect is defaulted to add to plus on top of my the base value of my lights, and that's the way, again, that I personally like it. So I will have a little play around in here, create a few different looks. So that's a more kind of random pulsing type effect. Then I might go to my spread selection here, my group spread, and I'm going to change that to use the horizontal axis of my, my group grid, my left to right. And now I'm going to use things like forward. So you can see now that's running down the line. Again, it's using the two lines of fixtures together and record that to there. Maybe I will do a backwards and maybe I'll do a center in. And at this point, I might change the width a little bit as well, just to create a little bit more definition between the kind of off and the on state. And then store that to there. So I have now got on this cue stack a couple of different cues. Change that to cue timing, and here they are. So this one is my full, so I'll just name these. Then we go through to this one, which is more of a random. If we go through to the next cue, this is a forward, so I tend to just put a couple of arrows in there to show me direction, quick icons. This one's a backwards, again, it's nice and quick to reference, and that one is center out or center in, so I'll create that kind of double arrow icon there. Now, what's really useful, and not a lot of people know about this feature, some of our more advanced users will, is a feature called copy to selected. Okay, I've built, okay, granted, not many cues on this cue stack at the moment, on this playback, sorry, but let's pretend I spent a good chunk of time on that. So now I want to do the exact same cue stack, but for my R2X washes. So I'm going to go and select my R2X washes, and instead of pressing copy, I'm going to do shift and copy. You know, there's lots of functions with Magic Q underneath the shift key. So shift and copy, copy to selected. So that means that I've now got the copy to selected function is active, and what I'm going to be doing is choosing my source, which is this cue stack, and I'm going to choose a destination playback. And what that's done is it's taken all of the programming from here, and it has now applied it to my new selection of lights and put it onto this new playback. So as I push that up, I've got exactly the same. I'll just point those out so you can see it happening. So I've got my random effect, I've got my forwards, again, it's using my group grid as my direction rather than the order of my lights, my backwards, and my bounce. Oh, not my bounce, sorry, that's a different day. So we've got a couple of different looks there, and again, just for reference so I know what we're doing later, I will do though, name these playbacks wash, and I'll call this one my spots. Great. So we've got all that set up. Now we want to do maybe a couple of different position based effects. So I'm going to pop that playback on there. And again, I'm not going to press locate. I'm not going to press intensity at full this time because all I want on this new playback I'm creating is some position effects. So again, I'm going to use my group effects, not my normal effects. Again, personal choice because I want it based on the orientation of my grid. And I'm going to go to position and start creating a couple. So firstly, we'll do a tilt effect. I'm not going to worry about the speed and the size for a second. You'll see that you'll see why in a moment. So I'll create more of a kind of random, just going everywhere effect first. Then what I'll do is I'll do a forwards, and again I'll use my spread, my group spread, to use my grid. So you can now see it's running down my line of fixtures, and I'll record that to there. Again, I'll do a backwards, record that one to there. I'll do a center in, so you can now see it mirrored from one side to the other. And actually I will, at this point, I'm going to remove the tilt effect. I'm going to go back and add a different group effect at this point, and maybe I'll do a circle type effect. On this one, I'm only going to have one, so I'm just going to do my grid horizontal again, and I'm going to do center in. So again, you create that kind of sweep out from the center and, you know, those large circles using multiple fixtures at one time. Again, don't worry about the speed, don't worry about the size. And record that to there. So there we go. Again, we've got a cue stack full of looks that I'm happy with. Change that to cue timing. We'll do a little bit of admin, and we'll call this tilt. We'll call this one a tilt forwards. We'll call this one a tilt backwards. Oh, I didn't name the right one there. Tilt forwards. And that one was a tilt backwards. This one was a tilt into out. I remember this one, a circle. There we go. So again, I've got a full list of cues that I've created with one set of lights. I do not want to waste time doing that again. So I'm going to select my R2X washes, do Shift and copy. Copy to selected because I selected that new group of lights, select my source and select my destination. So if I pop this fader up here, now you can see my intensity fader, and as I bring this up, I've got the same looks on those fixtures as I did on the other one. So I've got some intensity based stuff, I've got some position based stuff. Now let's have a little look around our execute grid as well. So I'm just going to turn everything off for a second. And we're going to go across to our execute screen. We're going to set up a grid, 10 by 12. This can be any size, any number of buttons that you want. Really just depends on what you can press, whether you're using touchscreen, a mouse, and so on. And what I'm going to do is drag these groups across. So firstly, grab those two groups, copy them over to my screen there. I'm just going to quickly make one more group. Actually, I'm going to select those both of those groups and store that as one master group. I'm just going to call that all movers. And I'm also going to copy that one across to my execute screen as well. Now I might copy a couple of colors across, copy those over to there. And then using this empty button, I'm going to use one of our inbuilt tools. Underneath the assign special function in the execute screen, I've got this all busking tool, okay? Now, firstly, you need to make sure this is now what we call a region. Again, you seasoned users and viewers of this will know what this means. But at the moment, these colors, these palettes, these buttons don't know what lights to work with. But as soon as I grab all of that and set it as a region, they now know to work with different types of lights. And for those of you that may have noticed, you might have not seen this in other releases, in recent software releases, you can now have multiple groups in one region. So if I just select my flexes and tap red or yellow, you can see they're changing, just my R2s, just they're changing. And that's why I had that one master group. So I can then have everything changing at once. Using this grid as well, I've also got some nice functions in terms of transitions of my colors. So for example, I could do a forwards or center in or center out. And when I do that, just apply some time to that as well. So like 2 seconds, center in and amber. You can see it's transitioning in a different way now. It's not just changing everything at once. If I leave it to normal, it's going to go forwards, reverse, green, reverse is going to go backwards, center in, center out, and random. You get the idea. So now I'm going to do some positions on here as well. So I'm going to copy those down to here. I can copy items from within the execute screen. I don't need to keep going back and forth. And I'm going to go to my positions and copy those across to there. I'm going to set that as a region. So again, I've got a color region, I've got a position region. And then finally, I'm going to go and make a beam shape region, just a couple of basic ones today. So I'll go to beam, I'll do an open gobo, I'll do like the first 3 gobos. Obviously I could choose which ones I bring across. And I'm also going to bring across the zooms on that as well, narrow, wide and medium, and pop that over there. So I have now got a region for my colors, I've got a region for my beams, I've got a region for my positions. I'm getting close to being able to start busking now. But I still need some level of speed control over all these lovely effects and chases I've just created. So if I just change that one there to spots pause, and I'll change this one to my wash pause, just to show me what's going on. I'm going to create myself some intensity speed masters, some position speed masters, but also a position size master. So firstly, absolutely nothing in my programmer whatsoever. I'm going to go and record a couple of empty faders. I'm going to go into this fader here by triple tapping the S key or the section on the touchscreen. And I'm going to tell it its function is to be a speedmaster. And I can choose one of all these speedmasters. I can have different speedmasters controlling different things on the console. So I'm just going to tell it it's speedmaster number 2. And on this one, I'm going to tell it is Speedmaster number 3. And I'm going to just label these. So Speedmaster 2 is for my intensity, and Speedmaster number 3 is for my pods. On this third fader, I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to tell its function is to be a size master, and I'm going to tell it to use the group ID of my master group that I created, of my all spots. So what we've got now is the ability to control speed, position, sizing, and everything from those 3 faders. So if I just pop some of these up so we can see what's going on, I'll just go and change the color of some of those lights so you can see a bit of a differentiation between the 2. I've now got the ability, if I put a chase onto my spots, okay, and I use my intensity speed master over here, I can tap that really quickly. I'll turn those ones off for a second. Sorry, I've missed one step. I need to tell this fader underneath the advanced tab to listen to that speedmaster. Sorry, that is a step that I missed out. And I'll go into my positions because position was going to be using speedmaster 3. There we go. So now if I change my spots to be one of those effects, I've got my intensity master running. And as I tap that, it's going quicker and slower. My play and my pause acts as a go and a halt. And then again for my speed masters for my positions. So you can see as I tap this one, nothing is changing about my position speed master. But as I activate my position speed, I have now got the ability to stop, halt, and control the effect speed of my position completely independently. And that would work across my washes as well if I had those running at the same time and I used some position-based effects on there as well. I've got everything going nuts and I've got individual control of positions and intensity speeds. This last one I created here was my size master. So I'll just do that one there, size. And when I enable that, I have now got the ability to control the size of that effect. What happened there? Let's make sure I didn't do something wrong. There we go. So if I just pop that onto a tilt effect and bring that down, there we go. I was just tapping around a bit too quick. So I've now got the size, I've got speed here, so I can have a really, really small effect, but really quickly, really large, really quick. So I've got all that control and I've now got everything on my execute screen, so I'm in a position to start running my show. I've got live times here. I can go and change the colors of my lights. I can go and change the relative positions of my lights. I've got my, my zoom options, my gobo options, everything is there ready for me to just tap around and play with. One of the other nice things I like to do, again quite a simple feature, but inside setup and inside my playback option, is to change my crossfader master function. So that is this fader just down here. And if I change that to be my busking rate master, now I've got a fader, and as I bring that up and down, you can just see the time changing over here. As I bring that up and down, I've got live fade time control of everything I do. So if I tap red now, it fades to that time. If I bring my position effect down for a second and I fan them down to a center spot, not fan, move them down to a center spot, it's taken that amount of time. So everything I do now is listening to that. So in a nutshell, that is, you can get a lot of stuff, pretty quickly without doing too much programming. Now there is one thing, I'm probably way past the 20 minutes, knowing my luck. Yeah, Luke is nodding at me. So we'll call it patch to show in about 26 minutes. But there's one thing I just wanted to cover before I look at the questions, because I had this one through from David Howard the other day, was to make sure I mentioned this. And this was our live copy master. So I'm going to pretend I've done all this programming. I'm happy with just the house rig, and we've added in a little bit of floor package, okay, that I've done no programming with whatsoever. So if I go and just patch a few more lights in, I'm going to choose head. I'm going to go and find some storm beams, so Survey Pro, and I will do storm 1 beams. There we go, in 21 channel mode. I'm going to patch just 6 of them at, there we go. I'll just pop those on for a second so you can see them. And if I go back to my visualizer, go to my viz, my selected heads, I'm just going to spin those around as if I'm putting them on the floor. Hang on, there we go. Do it the right way, Tyler. And change that one. Ugh, I am not used to this. There we go. Right, that one goes that way. Which way we go? There we go. Let's go around and then change the orientation there. Cool. And I will just, oh, don't go down there yet. So move those into my view and pop them just down to the bottom, just so you can see what happens. I'm going to do no programming with those lights whatsoever. I'm just going to grab them, locate them, and record a fader. And on that fader now, triple tap, go to my function and tell it to be a live copy master from a different set of lights. So now I've got intensity control of those lights, but they're going to follow what I do with my other fixtures. So if I pop into there, so sorry, tell it it's a live copy master, there we go, and then push that back up, you can see my beams that I've just patched at the floor down there is doing anything that I tell my Storm 1 flexes to do at the top. So a live copy master is a really quick way of just getting a new batch of lights to follow one of your others. So, sorry, that was a whirlwind of a couple of things I wanted to cover. James must have bionic eyesight because some of those screens are quite tiny. So I'll look on Facebook first. Hello everyone. Yes, I'm getting lots of lovely comments. Thanks, Ollie. Ollie Suckling's watching. So Adam, hello mate. Programming by group. Any manipulation you made to the group will update everything that reference it. e.g. so I just readjust fan values, effects times within groups when programming by group. Yes, so that would be using more of our group queues based programming, which I didn't do there, to be fair. It was all based on just normal kind of head programming. But yes, if you've probably seen some of our other videos in the past, that if you program based on a group queue basis, everything you do and change fixtures within that group will carry through to your programming. So you could add loads more lights into it and take things away, and all your effects get recalculated and all that kind of stuff. Max says shift and copy. Got it. Yes, remember that one. The shift key is your best friend. Anything on YouTube that I definitely can't see? Here we go. I think James was playing with, I can't see the last bit of that. I cannot see those questions. I've definitely got to invest in some glasses or get James to invest in a bigger screen. But as James always says, our sessions are monitored after the fact. Our chats and everything, we're always looking at them. So if you do have any questions afterwards, do give us a shout. The guys and myself and everyone else will pop in there and answer those. I don't know the exact agenda, but obviously Training Tuesday will be here every single Tuesday by the fact of the name. And I'm sure I'll be kicked out by next week, so I don't think I'll be welcome back for a little while. But I know James wants a day off in a few weeks' time, so I think I'm back, but probably from my house at that point. But yes, if you've got any more questions, pop them in the chat. We will monitor it, answer it. Have a great day. See you again.